Hello and welcome to today's video. Today, continuing on with my Monteverde Mania March series where I'm reviewing just Monteverde inks for the month of March 2022. So if you're watching these outside of March, go check it out. There's a bunch of reviews I've done this month. It's been a lot of fun. Today's ink is this. This is Copper Noir. Now, Copper Noir, as I'll say in a bit, comes from the Noir series. This was a collection of inks that Monteverde released that had really lovely dark tones. So you get like a copper ink, or there's like the greens and the greys and all that, the blues and things, and just with like a lovely dark, rich undertone to it. Hence the Noir name. So this is it on a colouring card. You can see it's got some lovely light copper tones, almost sort of like a burnt orange, browny red colour, but this dark centre here, it's very rich, and you get some of that in the writing when the shading pops up. So let's look at it on a bunch of different kinds of paper and do all the usual stuff. Like always, this is the bottle it comes in, the 30ml bottle. You can buy it in the you can buy it in the box set with all the Noir inks, or buy them separately. Separately, they come in just a little plastic box. Yeah, nice simple glass bottle, plastic cap, and really good value. So here we have the ink on. This is 68 GSM Tomoe River paper. Now, I had the ink in 2 pens, which I forgot to write down, the TWSBI Go Broad and TWSBI Go Extra Fine, as per usual. But as you can see, you get two very distinct kind of colours from this ink, depending on the pen. Here in the swab, you can see those copper tones again, and then that sort of darker grey colour. And you get that in the writing. So we'll start with the 5 points firstly. As I said, it's from the Noir set. Which is a lovely ink set. If you're not familiar with it, check it out. Made in Austria, which is very nice, and then packaged and sold through the USA. It's a very different, it looks different on different paper. You'll see in a bit, like we get everything from like quite a nice burnt orange through to this sort of more like that grey-green sort of tone coming through on things like Tomoe River. The value is great. These inks, Monteverde inks in general, are really, really well priced. And also it's got interesting properties, and that's kind of where I'm tying into things about like some of the water resistance, but also the fact that you get very different colors. So in a drier pen or a finer pen, you're getting a really interesting sort of terracotta almost sort of kind of color, and then in the darker you're getting a lot more of that browny red, and it's really lovely, and you get hits of that through everything. But yeah, it's an interesting ink. I've said it shades well, but less in wet pens, which we can kind of see here, although where we get the shading in the wetter pen, it looks amazing. It has a slightly dry feel, like some sort of brown and orange inks can kind of feel a little bit dry, and a relatively slow dry time, so after 20 seconds it was still pretty wet. So it's got a fair performance on lower end paper, and an interesting water resistance, which we see here, and we'll see again on Rhodia, which looks really, really interesting there. But this is like grey-brown that is left behind, so it moves around a lot. You lose a lot of that surface orangey terracotta colour, but you're left with this browny grey. It's got good saturation and the depth of colour, which comes from that Noir series. So let's look at it on some other paper. Starting from the bottom up, here we have it on this is Spyrex student notepad paper, or from a lecture pad, low weave paper, and you can see we get a nice orangey sort of terracotta colour there, that copper coming through nicely. A little bit of feathering, but not too bad. It performs relatively well, but a bit of bleeding, of course, particularly in the wetter, broad nib. Now on Reflex copy paper, this is 80 GSM standard sort of office copy paper. It looks a lot tighter. It's a browner colour on this paper. And if we look at the reverse of this, once again, a bit of bleed happening, particularly in the wetter pen, but kind of, I suppose, on par with a lot of the Monteverde inks I've been looking at. Then finally, here we have it on Rhodia paper. This is standard 80 GSM Rhodia paper. Really rich tones coming through in the swab. nice sort of browny orange, reddy orange sort of coming through. It does sort of have a slower dry time with that wetness. But what's interesting on this paper is the water resistance here. So I just did that line and then hit it with a water brush pen, and this is how it's dried, and you get that very grey line, and then the rest of the ink is sort of spread out, and we get sort of some like shading around the edge of it. But that grey that's left behind, I find that very, very interesting. And actually, that grey is what we see with the chromatography. So where I've done the line, what is left is basically this like purple grey. We get purple through it, pinks, and then the oranges, and that really rich, vibrant orange there at the top, hits of yellow coming through. It's quite deep. This grey line, I think this is where we find a lot of the noir colour coming from. It's got this underlying depth to it. Time for a colour comparison now with Copper Noir from Monteverde. I put here Diamine Monaco Red. Lots of similarities in the shading there. Monaco having a little bit more of a green sheen to it. I should say the extras on the Copper Noir ink are that there's no visible sheen, there's some shade, no shimmer, and it has like a mid-water resistance. I pulled up Clay Red from Robert Oster, simply for the sort of the middle tones of that. I find there to be a similarity. It's a lot redder. Monaco Red is a lot redder as well. This has a real sort of copper, like reddy sort of colour to it. Just pulling up Mandarin Orange from Monteverde, which I reviewed recently. So you can see it's not a bright orange. There is much more red in it. And then a copper ink like Robert Oster Copper, there it's a lot more like purpley brown. So this is a really red brown. I think there's actually hits of like a terracotta kind of color in the tone of this Monteverde ink. So when bought individually, this is a 30ml bottle. It's around $10 US or $12.95 Australian, and that price sort of is in line with the per mil price if you buy the full set. I think a lot of the Monteverde inks are really, really well priced, and their sets especially are well priced. So I've given this ink 4 out of 5. Now, it's an interesting color from an interesting series. It has fair performance, but what makes this ink really, really cool, in my opinion, is the personality of this ink. The way it writes on the page, how it's different in different pens, different on different paper. To some people, that is going to be an issue, but to me, it's actually what makes this ink and a lot of the Noir series inks really interesting. Something like Smoke Noir is a beautiful grey, but it does look different on everything you put it on. And so it makes for an interesting ink. I hope you found this video about Copper Noir to be interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me on any of my videos here or drop me an email, which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there is a way you would like to support this channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for review, I would love to hear from you. A big thank you to Monteverde and their Australian affiliates for supporting this series of reviews. A number of the inks have been provided for this series, not this particular one, but a number of the inks I have reviewed have been provided, and a big thank you to them for that support. In the meantime, enjoy your inks, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.